Welcome to Out of the Blue. Number 15. So last time I was talking about Gramps, and I showed this picture, and that's Gramps with my mother. And here's a picture of Gramps with me when he was in his 80s and I was in my 20s, late 20s. Now, one of my earliest memories is being held by Gramps. So I was little, about 4, and he was big. And Gramps was a mechanic his whole life, and he was a very strong, physically strong person, but he was also extremely gentle. So I remember being held and just this feeling of safety, you know, when you're a child in your grandfather's arms. So that idea of strength combined with gentleness is one that's going to be referred to a lot in this chapter. So, in the terms of neo-suio, there's a question: is there a basic book? And even though this philosophy is named after Swedenborg, Swedenborg's writings are not the basic foundation. The basic book is this, the dictionary. And not any specific dictionary, just a dictionary in general. I have 4 dictionaries, and I'm in the scriptorium right now. This is the scriptorium dictionary, and I'm going to refer to a word. The other day I talked about Emerson, self-reliance, reliance on one's own abilities, resources, or judgment. So Emerson was a reader of Swedenborg. I brought up the idea of the Tao the other day, and there are religious Taoists like the monks in the Shaolin Temple, and there are philosophical Taoists who is just basically anybody who reads about it and thinks about it. Likewise, there are religious Swedenborgians, and so that would mean you belong to a Swedenborgian church. And there's not that many religious Swedenborgians, but there are very many philosophical Swedenborgians. So Emerson read Swedenborg. A lot of people read Swedenborg. And so Emerson was a philosophical Swedenborgian. And his piece of writing called Self-Reliance sets the stage, because a lot of this is about thinking for one's self and relying on your own judgment. Gramps also taught me how to ride a bicycle. Here we are at Winnemac Park, and here's the sign that we look at: Native Landscape Restoration in Progress. You see now the sign is, the grass, the plants are just taller than the sign now. And here we have some beautiful flowers in the springtime. Look at that bee. Gramps taught me how to ride a bike, so I thought I would have some bike riding in this. Now, as for the theme of this season number 2, and in the first episode, I showed the violin bow, and how it's the violin bow is cousins to or descendant of the bow and arrow. So the violin bow is a symbol, or can be a symbol, of the transformation from from weapon to musical instrument. Now the violin itself is a doorway to the whole world, because the violin is used all over the world in all kinds of different ways. But before we get into that, I want to talk about this idea of transformation from weapon to musical instrument, or from murderer to artist. We're going to be on the road this session. We're going to Fort Townsend, where there's a place called Fort Worden State Park. Now, on the Fiddle team, fiddlers might recognize Fort Worden State Park because it's the location of the Festival of American Fiddle Tunes. Fort Worden State Park used to be a military base. It is now a state park. So it used to be a place you went to, learn how to shoot bullets and mortars. There's these 10-inch guns there, and 10 inches is the diameter of the shell. And this was a place that was used to defend the entrance to Puget Sound during World War I and II. Now, it's a state park where you go to walk your dog, or there's writers' conferences, there's Fiddle Festival, there's a Jazz Fest, there's a Blues Fest. So it is economically viable. This transformation from instrument of destruction, construction, is economically viable. But before we get into that, let's look at this, because we're not in Fort Townsend yet. We are in Chicago, and there's a landmark in my neighborhood I wanted to show you, and it's this. St. Matthias Church, Catholic Church, Western and Ainsley. More specifically, I wanted to point out this shape, the diamond shape, a rhombus, R-H-O-M-B-U-S. It is a rhombus. It's also the shape that's on the court jester's costume. So this neighborhood, which is home to 2 different magic shops, has a dominant symbol above the neighborhood of the court jester. So this is the neighborhood of the court jester, some might say, some being me. church is quite beautiful, and the way it catches the light is quite interesting because it's the south-facing building. And so that patch up there catches the light just so, depending on the time of day and depending on the season. Jabbo Smith. Claude Williams. Jabbo Smith has a well-known recording called Jazz Battle. And that essentially encapsulates this whole theme of battling with notes with your instrument, sometimes called your axe. Did you bring your axe? Right? Did you bring your battle axe to the battle, the jazz battle? See what I'm saying? Claude Williams was a master of this. Claude Williams was a friend of Lester Young. Claude Williams was a jazz violinist. In the cutting contest, the first time I ever saw anybody actually get cut, it was Claude Williams doing the cutting. I won't say who he cut, but I was at a little jazz session and two jazz violinists each took a break. As I was going down the road. And Claude took a break and he just blew him out of the water. I couldn't believe it. But anybody who's interested in this theme of the jazz battle, the cutting contest, of solving our differences musically, should look directly at this guy, Jabbo Smith, because he has a style that is aggressive but melodic. So it's almost like a boxing style. As for my style, I'm something of a beginner and I do not have a style as of yet. I've said that we're going to Weezer. This is 2015, and so I'm going to Weezer as a participant, but I do not expect to place. I'm learning left-handed violin, and I figure it will take about 5 years. So my plan with Weezer is I'm entering the adult division, and I look forward to being the terror of the 2020s in the adult division. So right now my playing is in development, but I want to point out this. I'm in Chicago now, and there's an annoying noise coming from that direction. Might be a vacuum or cleaner, or there it stopped. So anyway, one thing I like to do is to play with environmental noises, and we're going to be doing this in Weezer. And I thought, as an example, I would start with this neighboring sound.